Okay, I'm getting rid of this doll because it keeps focusing on it in the background. I just realized how creepy of a thing that is to say, considering I'm talking about haunted dolls. Now, did he call the cops? Did he try to figure out the mystery behind the girl that had died? Or why did he just take the doll? Welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be talking about Mandy the Doll, which is said to be one of the most haunted dolls in the world. But before we get started, I'm Sophia Lovelace and I post about ghosts, ghouls, anything creepy and cool. So if you like any of that stuff, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below to be notified when I have new uploads. Also, when you're down there, make sure to hit the bell icon to be one of the first people notified when I have a new upload. And you should totally do that because it is 100% free. So before we get started, I just want to have some awesome news that I want to share with you guys. So if you guys have been a loyal subscriber to my channel for a while now, I've actually gained a lot of subscribers recently, and actually from the last video I posted, which was 5 places to see a UFO, I had 537 subscribers and now I am around 614. So that means I gained 41 subscribers at least in the last week, which is just crazy. So I wanted to thank you guys so much for that, considering that I've been on YouTube for almost 2 years now, and I was sitting around a little over 300 in December, so I've actually gained a lot of subscribers in the last 3 months. Yeah, 3-ish months. So that's super exciting. So if you like more creepy stuff, make sure to go like me on Facebook. And if you don't have Facebook, I also have Instagram and TikTok, and all of my social medias will be linked down below, including my Twitter. So I've talked about Robert the doll on my channel. I've talked about a haunted Elsa doll a little while ago, but I have not talked about Mandy the doll yet. Now, a lot of you have been requesting I do a video on Annabelle the doll, but I feel like because Annabelle has a really successful movie that a lot of people know the Annabelle story, and even though I'm still planning on doing an Annabelle video, I feel like Mandy is kind of ignored and outshined by Annabelle, so I wanted to talk about her a little bit because I think her story is equally as fascinating as Annabelle. So I thought I would do a Mandy the doll video first, and then I would do a video on Annabelle. I mean, I am also not going to mention the fact that every time I've started to do an Annabelle video, something always goes wrong. Either I'm sick, or there's a problem with my camera, or my memory card, or my computer. We're not going to talk about that because I definitely don't want to think that something supernatural is going on every time I try to film an Annabelle video, but that's just something to note. So if the Annabelle video is a little bit delayed, it might be because of that reason. So even though Mandy is not as popular as Annabelle the doll, she still has her own horror movie. And I don't know if it's any good or not. It's not really that popular, so that's not a good sign. But if you've seen the movie, make sure to leave a comment down below letting me know about your thoughts about the movie. Is it good? Is it bad? I did read the Wikipedia page for it, and it sounds nothing like the true Mandy the doll story, but it's just something to mention that there was a movie about Mandy the doll. Now, the doll in that horror movie looks like your typical porcelain doll that you would find at Goodwill, but the real Mandy doll actually looks quite different. Now, I couldn't find out if Mandy the doll was a porcelain doll or if she was a composite doll, which I think I'm saying that word right, which was a type of doll that was made, I believe, out of sawdust and a type of glue, and when hardened, it was less common for it to break compared to porcelain dolls. And especially if you ever had a porcelain doll growing up, even if it was just decoration, you know that the likelihood of it breaking was quite high. So the composite dolls were pretty popular, I think, before 1950, so before plastic started becoming the norm for children's doll. Oh my god. So it was kind of in that window between like the Victorian era of porcelain dolls, which were pretty expensive, and then between the 1950s. So about 50 years at least, probably more. But it was impossible for me to find any information if she was a porcelain doll or one of those composite dolls, which I guess adds to the mystery of what is Mandy the Doll and what is her story. So it is unclear when Mandy the Doll was created, but most people and experts that know a lot about dolls have said that she was probably made between the years of 1910 and 1920. And it is also unknown if she was either made in England or if she was made in Germany, which makes a lot of sense considering Germany up until I believe the 1990s was one of the leaders in making quality children's toys. So for the longest time, if you guys were ever into American Girl dolls, like I was as a kid, American Girl dolls used to be made in Germany. Now they're made in China, just like almost every toy out there is made in China. But back in the day, high quality toys were made in Germany. So that is not weird at all that she would be made in Germany and somehow end up in British Columbia, which is where she was eventually donated in 1991 to a museum in British Columbia. And the woman who donated the doll cited that the reason she wanted to get rid of the doll was because she was tired of hearing the doll crying. And let me tell you, that is pretty disturbing. So that is a pretty disturbing thing to say, considering this was before the time of baby alive dolls or whatever you call those terrors. I hated those guys. They were so freaky. They're like Furby level creepy. Like they're quite creepy. But anyways, if you hear a doll that is crying and it doesn't have batteries, you know, that's pretty disturbing. The first thing the museum did after receiving the doll, and they did this with every object that they received, is that, well, they put Mandy the doll in a plastic bag and they tied it up. The reason for doing that is because they wanted to make sure that there was no bugs or anything else like that on the doll that could spread to the other artifacts in the museum. However, what is creepy about this is that she was put into a staff room and some of the staff members that were working in that room claimed to hear the bag moving and rustling. The next day, when they opened Mandy out of the bag, they discovered that there was no bugs or anything else in the bag, so there was no explanation for the bag moving on its own, which is really creepy. So after it was determined that Mandy the doll could join the other items in the collection of the museum, they decided for records purposes to take some photos of the doll. And here are some of the images, or the first images of Mandy the doll. After the photos of Mandy the doll were taken, she was put into a staff room overnight. However, the next day when the museum curator came to the museum and was getting ready to open the museum to the public, they discovered that the room that Mandy the doll was in was a mess. There was papers everywhere, there were small objects all over the room, and larger items were just pushed over. The curator of the museum stated that it was very similar to as if a child had a temper tantrum and had made the mess, which is absolutely terrifying. So after that, Mandy the doll was placed in the museum, in a part of the museum which is one of the first places that visitors see when they are exploring the museum. The majority of people who have seen Mandy the doll claim that they feel a great feeling of uneasiness, with some claiming to see Mandy the doll blinking or that her eyes following them across the room. Now, if you've seen my Robert the Doll video, you know how terrifying it is to watch a doll blink. And now there is no videos that I could find of Mandy the Doll blinking on camera, just like I found a video of Robert the Doll blinking on camera. But just the idea of a doll blinking is terrifying within itself. Other events that have happened at the museum that staff believe are a result of Mandy the Doll include she was given a small kind of doll, like a lamb, kind of like a lamb stuffy, but it's really small. And when you see pictures of Mandy, you can see the little stuffed lamb or sheep that they gave her. Well, apparently on several occasions, that little lamb has moved by itself. And not just in the glass case that Mandy is sitting in, but around the museum. So this little stuffed animal has appeared under the case, has appeared in several different parts of the museum, usually at night, which is pretty terrifying. Now, another common event that staff members claim is a result of Mandy the Doll is that sometimes their lunches get stolen and get put in drawers or other strange places around the museum. Now, let me tell you, if someone, regardless if they're a haunted doll or a supernatural entity, if they steal my lunch, game over. Nothing is preventing me from getting my leftover spaghetti. People have also claimed that they hear tapping of glass as if Mandy is trying to get out or trying to give a message by tapping on the glass of her case, which is pretty creepy. So it is unclear what is the history or the origins of Mandy the Doll. However, the museum did contact a psychic, and the psychic claimed that this was Mandy's story. Now, it is up for you to decide whether or not you believe in psychics or how valid psychic, not predictions, but readings are. I would have to say I am pretty neutral on my belief of psychics. So one thing we should keep in mind when we are discussing the story of Mandy the Doll is that if you are familiar with the story of Annabelle the Doll, you know that a psychic said that the spirit that lived in Annabelle the Doll was the spirit of a little girl who had died. However, if you are familiar with Annabelle, it's pretty clear that something much darker is in the Annabelle doll and is most likely not a little girl. Now, that doesn't necessarily say that the psychic was wrong in their prediction or that the spirit wasn't communicating with the psychic, but oftentimes, especially when people are using Ouija boards, demons can lie. I mean, they're not necessarily known for being the most ethical or truthful. So this psychic who read Mandy the Doll could have easily contacted a demon, and the demon could have lied and said that it was the spirit of a little girl. But if you don't believe in demons, that is up for you to decide of what is actually in Mandy the Doll. So that is just some theories, but again, it's up for you to decide yourself whether or not the psychic's prediction or the psychic's reading of Mandy the Doll is accurate. So according to the psychic, a man was walking one day and he walked past a abandoned farmhouse, and he knew that it was abandoned. He knew that nobody lived there and that it was empty, but he heard someone crying. He entered the house and he discovered that the crying was coming from underneath him. And it took him a while to find the entrance to the basement, which was located outside of the house and kind of like the storm cellar type basement. He opened the doors, and this is the really creepy part of it, but apparently there was the body of a dead girl in the basement, and she was holding the doll. And the man knew that the girl had died and had been dead for a while, just based on the state of her decomposition. So he knew that it's not like she was crying and then got murdered recently. But that's apparently according to the psychic. Now, did he call the cops? Did he try to figure out the mystery behind the girl that had died? Or why did he just take the doll? Think about it. If you were in an abandoned farmhouse and you saw the body of a dead girl, would you A, call the cops, B, try to investigate, or C, take the really creepy doll that she's holding? Leave your thoughts down below. Actually, please don't. I really don't want to hear your responses to that question. Anyways, if that story is true, that definitely explains why the woman heard crying in her basement. And then suddenly the crying stopped as soon as she got rid of the doll. Anyways, that is the end of my video today. If you like this video, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below to be notified when I have new uploads. Also, when you're down there, make sure to hit the bell icon to be one of the first people notified when I have a new upload. Now, like in all of my videos, it is up for you to decide. Is Mandy the Doll real or fake? And as you decide, make sure to subscribe. See what I did there? See what I did? That's a new thing. Let me know if you like it in the comments down below. And I think that's it for today. And